Recording in progress.
Well, hi, good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you all. We're recording. This isn't like for CE, so you don't necessarily need your camera on to watch it. Some people don't like to be on the recording, so if you want to keep your camera off, you can, although it's nice to see your wonderful faces. Yeah, I made a mistake this morning. I gave the wrong link to all the speakers this morning. So hopefully I just sent them all an email. That's why we're running just a little bit later. I have, in case you're wondering, my SUD level is maybe at like a 3. So it's not too high. I just emailed them and texted them. So I'm just going to look real quickly at all the people on here as more people come in. It's so nice to see you all. I recognize some names, and some names are new to me. Let's see. Wait, I did send it to them, but or I have an email to them, but I didn't hit send. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just ask you to mute. We do have quite a few people that have RSVP'd. There's 33 in here right at the time that I'm looking at the numbers, but it may grow. So what we're going to do is we're going to just get it started, but I do want it to be kind of have this reciprocity vibe where there's a back and forth and question and answer type situation. So more towards the end, but if you hear something that someone is saying, like you want to ask Marshall a question or Deb or anything, feel free to either raise your hand or unmute yourself and say, "Hey, I have a question," or put it in the chat. That way we can make sure that we don't miss any big things. So I'm just going to check my email just one more time to make sure that they got it. Yes, we were all in a Zoom room, not all of us. We were all in the Zoom, and I was like, no one's showing up yet. That's odd. And it was a different link. And I actually just got off the plane. I'm in Texas now, so I'm getting ready to do a presentation here I'm excited about. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Carmen is actually up first. She's at the Association for Play Therapy Conference. Let me give her a call real quick.
Recording in progress.
Call Carmen Jimenez Pride. You might be able to.
I don't see a Carmen Jimenez Pride in your contacts. Who would you like?
I'm good. Yes. Oh, I just emailed you another link. You get to see me. Usually I have it all together. If you've been in the training with me, you're probably like, well, not usually I have it all together. That's a false statement. A lot of times I'm way more organized. It's just the link thing threw me off. New link. Let's see. No, I send that to Becky. No, if you know Dr. Becky Welsh or not, she's like one of my friends. That's who I'm with right now. And there we go. Okay. All right. All right, and there's Rodham. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Let me just double check to see. Rodham, we had a little blip where they had the wrong email address. I do apologize for, or not email address, wrong link. So let me just double check this is the same one. Let's see. It is so nice to see. Okay, there we go. So nice to see. Most of the people got the link this morning. So we'll give them a few minutes to sign on. If they don't, we'll troubleshoot it at that time. We'll just kind of roll with it. Okay, so as an EMDR therapist working with children, you likely have found yourself in situations trying to take this very amazingly, just beautifully structured type of therapy and kind of mesh it in with your child-centered vibe and use maybe EMDR with someone like your young kiddos and left like, I don't know actually what to do. I can't ask this child questions because if I ask them questions, it's going to disrupt the play therapy vibe will they even answer? And if they answer, what benefit would that be? So we're going to talk about how to use it with kids. But first I'm going to jump in while we're waiting for them and just kind of look at your workbook. Now, this workbook, actually, I can put a link to it in the chat. It did not upload for some reason into the usual way I usually upload it to the group. When I say usual way, this is our second time doing it. It's too big. So I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. Let's see, share, get view link only. But for the time being, you can click on this link that is in the chat and you should have access to be able to see it now. Can someone click on the link and just kind of give me a verbal description of what you see?
I was able to pull up the workbook when clicking on the link.
Oh my goodness, that's Carmen's voice. Where are you at, Carmen? You got it. There you are.
I'm right here.
Okay, my son just went down. All right, that's wonderful. It's like an angel's voice in the distance. Okay, so we're going to get started with Carmen, actually. I just do want to just go over a few housekeeping things. If you do have some colleagues, let me pin myself so you can kind of have that the facial and the sound all in the same place. If you do have some colleagues in need of any kind of working with children support, feel free to invite them to the MDR learning community. It's all free. So even, I mean, a lot of us do work with adults as well. So they can, be in our EMDR with kids group, but they could be part of the bigger group. And the host, Roten Breyer, has a lot of just free resources that I'm benefiting from. I had a really good interview with Reg Moore Robinson and Bill Brislin recently, and I think he's getting ready to do one with Debbie Korn and Michael Baldwin. There's a ton of them. So if you have some colleagues and you're here in the MDR learning community, there's actually a link you could share. Feel free. The more we could build community, I think the more we're going to raise the vibe of being able to use EMDR with fidelity. That's why I've called on, like, literally, I'm like, who in my world do I go to? Carmen's one of the people that when I feel stuck, I will reach out to her and like share a situation, get her feedback, and we kind of collaborate on it. Carmen knows her stuff. It's the one thing that's hard with Carmen is that she knows so much stuff. It's hard to narrow it down to one thing because she is big with IFS and big with trauma in general, play therapy. But one thing that I think when I think of Carmen, I think about emotions, and emotions is a big part of our work. But it's not always with working with children. It's not always easy because of developmentally they may not have grown or be in an environment where emotional literacy is really kind of supported. Like having those names lights up the left hemisphere of the brain and the right hemisphere of the brain, where they're feeling it in their body. So I'm going to turn it over to Carmen, but know in this workbook, and we'll figure out how to get the PDF to you too, so you can download it and actually use it in your practice. Don't share it with people that aren't trained in EMDR yet, because if you use some of these pieces outside of EMDR session, they may not, I mean, certainly the filling sheet would be appropriate, but especially Deb McManus's piece on setting out a target, you can open up some trauma that isn't closed up easily at all with regular either talk therapy or even play therapy. It's very serious, picking out these targets and setting them up. We need to follow through right away very intentionally. So don't share the workbook with people that aren't EMDR trained. Okay, so I'm going to unpin myself and I'm going to pin Carmen. Jimenez Pride, there she is. All right, and now I'm going to mute myself. If you do have questions for Carmen, just put them in the chat. She has limited time, so if she doesn't answer them or I can't answer them, I'll make sure to reach out to her afterwards and we'll get some responses to put in the group.
Hello, EMDR besties. I am super excited to be sitting with you today. I wish I can say the whole time, but I am in the middle of South Carolina's Association for Play Therapies conference, and I stepped away to spend some time with you all to talk about one of my favorite things. So if you know me, you know that I love doing work around children and feelings. And I've incorporated that into my EMDR practice. Again, my name is Carmen. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, registered play therapist. I'm a certified EMDR therapist and a consultant in training. So why feelings? We get into a lot of work when we work with kids, and some of my kids are able to communicate very well. Some of them are not. So I just take some time and do a little bit of teaching. I like to teach feelings and emotions. And this is very beneficial when working with children, especially within EMDR. They're able to literally tell me how they're feeling, how their response to different cognitions, whether they're negative cognitions or positive cognitions. And my biggest thing is when you increase emotional literacy, you increase emotional awareness. So let me slow that down and say it again. When you increase emotional literacy, you increase emotional awareness. And that's really important when we're working with kids, because they have experiences, and sometimes they don't have words for their experiences, or they don't know how to express themselves in reference to those experiences. And that's getting to those memories that we'll be working with EMDR. So I'm going to just be honest with you. I'm very biased because I have a brand called Focus on Feelings. And that's what I use in practice mainly, but I use a lot of different other feelings work and other people's products and things like that. So whatever you have, you can use and create. And I'll let you know how I use and create these items with the kids that I work with. So one of the biggest things is you need, and I'm very big on this, I don't like to tell people what they need, but I'm going to tell you what you need. You need feelings charts. It doesn't have to be my feelings charts. It can be any feelings charts. And this is very beneficial because you want kids to be able to see the feelings, so they can relate to their facial expression. They can relate to the words that they see, just so they can have something that they can relate. Some kids respond very well to just a general feelings charts, but I also use I'll create them with kids where I get permission and I'll take pictures of different emotions that they make. And then they have their own special feelings chart. So having some type of feelings chart, again, would be very beneficial for your kids. When you get to that step and you ask about the emotions and what's coming up for them and how they're feeling about the cognition or how they're feeling about whatever memory that you're working on, they're able to tell you because now they can relate to some of the feelings that they've been exposed to. This is one of my favorite things. This helps me get my SUD. And you can ask kids, and I've done this, and you've probably done it too. Is it this? Do you like it this much? Does it bother you this much? Or does it bother you this much? And kids are going to do things like this, or they're going to do things like this. And you're not going to get a good read on how much it might bother. So putting the feelings or the feeling expressions to your SUDS can be very beneficial. And that's what I've created here. So we have going from 0 to 10, of course, 10 being nothing, happy, completely happy, and 10 being over the top. And you can create these with your kids, or you can just create it for them. But this helps them really settle down and lock in that SUD. When they're able to see using their visual, they'll give you a better SUD number. And then the second one that I use helps me get my VOC. And this is the same way. Like, how true is it? And giving them an opportunity to see different expressions. So 1, is it, I don't believe it at all? Or 6, 7, I'm super confident and I completely believe what I just told you. So again, using that visual, they can see it. When they see it, they'll invest in it a little bit more. And that's helping, again, increasing that emotional literacy will increase that emotional awareness. And that's 2 methods that I use. And this is the third one that I use. And this is the same thing, but this gives them something to do with their hands when they're in session. And it can help with that bilateral movement while they're rolling the bottom part of the spinner. And they're able to give me that number. And I use this with my older kids. Still got that visual that they can see, but something that is very hands-on. So that, I know that was super quick. I just really threw it out there. But those are the items that I use in reference to getting my SUDS and my VOC. And you can create, and the fun part is you can create this with your kids and get them to create their own SUD scale and VOC. I'm a big believer that when kids invest in creating something, they're going to use it. And it's going to be theirs. And that's also helping with that therapeutic relationship between you and the child. And again, giving them that opportunity to be invested in the work that they're doing. And when they're being able to connect with what they're seeing, getting those SUDs and getting those VOCs are very easy, but them also being able to communicate and share how they're feeling towards situations that they've been in, gives them an easier way to do that. So again, focusing on feelings. Again, I'm biased, but you can use any, you don't have to use mine. You can use anything. You can create your own, but just make sure that you get that in front of your kids. And trust me, you'll see a difference in how you get those SUDs and those VOCs. And if you don't see a difference, call me, okay? So I can help you and we can figure it out together, okay? So any questions about using those emotional wellness tools to help teach kids feelings and help increase their emotional literacy?
I think that was really helpful. If you have any questions, you could put them in there if you think of some later. Danielle said, love those. Thanks. And Maria said, thank you so much for sharing this information. That's one thing I like about Carmen is that she's like easy to understand. She takes all this hard stuff and makes it kind of make sense. You don't have to like decode it after she describes it. So Nicole, as you said, how you define the target with the kid. What do you say the kid? Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question. That's what Deb is actually going to talk about today too. And Caitlin inspired me to get creative, and the visuals make all the difference, Becky said. Okay, so if you do
Definitely want Deb to handle that question because she's going to give you that information.
Yeah, she's actually made some graphics that I was like, oh my goodness, and there's some options too. Well, Carmen, I know you're is it the South Carolina Association for Play Therapy Conference, and
Yes.
you're one of the people there, right? Like one of the leaders?
Yeah, I am the president for South Carolina.
You're the person.
I'm the main, they're probably looking for me.
Okay.
I done stepped off into a different room. So don't tell anybody, y'all.
At least you're not hiding out in the bathroom stall. Be like, I'm doing like my
I'm
back
not in the
off.
bathroom though, I promise. I'm not in the bathroom.
That would be a pretty bathroom, though, be all purple. All right, Carmen, we'll see you later. And thank you so much. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. All of y'all have
The
fun
team loves the
today.
spirit.
Learn a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So one thing that she talked about is like the importance of visuals. And I'm at my friend Becky Welsh's house. I'm doing this thing for North Texas Association for Play Therapy. She has this most beautiful bowl, and I couldn't remember what it was called, but there's a Japanese word for it. And see how there's cracks, and in the cracks they've actually painted the gold. And the quote that goes with it is, in Japan, broken objects are often repaired with gold. The flaw is seen as a unique piece of the object's history, which adds to its beauty. Consider this when you feel broken. Stuff like this. I mean, isn't that beautiful? I've never seen one in person. I don't know if you have one, or you've seen it, but it truly is broken and it's mended. I don't want to break it. I'm going to be so careful. I'd hate to break it. We'd have to find some gold to mend it. But it's metaphors like that too that can really take your EMDR work to a different level, because metaphors have this beautiful capacity to generalize past a certain situation that you're working on. Okay, so we are a little limited in time because we have Marshall and Deb coming as well. So I'm going to do my part, and everyone's so busy that Marshall's going to pop in right on the hour, and then Deb's going to pop in right at the in the last spot. She's at some like an Adlerian play therapy case conceptualization, and I think he's working with clients up until the time. So I'm going to share with you. This is your workbook. Again, the link, if you're just now joining us, the link is inside of your chat. This right here is a quote. I feel strange quoting myself, but it's something that I believe is not common knowledge. So I really wanted to kind of put it out there in a way that people realize, especially us as EMDR therapists, one of the biggest things is, what do we target? How do I know what to target? What if I target the wrong thing? What if I target something that could actually be harmful for the client? Well, chances are if you target the wrong thing, it's just not going to be as impactful if there is a wrong thing. Think about the neural networks are all lit up when someone is activated or shut down. So let's look at what trauma is. Trauma is what occurs inside of the nervous system as a result of a distressing event that happened. Oops, no, that's spelled right. That happened, such as with abuse, or something distressing that didn't happen that needed to, as with neglect. So we think about acts of commission and acts of omission. So acts of commission may be abuse. There may be even like a shock trauma, like there may be like a car accident, or maybe some developmental trauma. But then there's acts of omission. Maybe something didn't happen that needed to happen. Maybe there was ruptures in the relationship. Maybe there was, the child was left alone and did not have their needs met for a certain amount of time. And then those neural networks were, quite frankly, developed in a very different way. So that is really important when we think about what to target. And even before what to target, how do we do a really solid phase 1 history taking and phase 2 preparation with these clients, that maybe they had really solid beginnings in utero and the birth was healthy, and then there were no attachment ruptures, but maybe they had like a big trauma. And remember, there's 3 different ways we need to feel safe: in our body, in our relationship, and in our environment. So they may have had something happen there. So when you're choosing what to target, don't target the event, but target what's happening in the nervous system. And it is important that you have I say this knowing that we're not always privy to information, but we have as much information to help us understand, gather a clear clinical picture as we can, to really see, does this child need more preparation? Do they need more resourcing? So that's what my part is on today. I did choose this for my part because this is where I see a lot of times clinicians, especially newly trained clinicians, will kind of breeze through. Now, as child therapists, our children are not miniature adults, so they have like limited life experiences. So we need to kind of add to that, provide some information for this beautiful AIP. I know it was a long time before I even really realized what AIP was. I was hearing it in trainings, and I would even kind of maybe even use it like, ah, there's the AIP model, but I really didn't understand what it was. So I'm going to say it to you just in case by chance you're in that boat, regardless of where you are in your journey. So AIP stands for Adaptive Information Processing. And really it's we all have nervous systems. And over time, when I say over time, I mean from like 5 months in utero is where we start having our nervous system shaped by experiences. Are the experiences that we have really shape how we, and I was just talking to Becky, Dr. Welsh, about this on the way home from the airport just now. We have like these triggers that will make it to where we react to things rather than to be able to respond. And I love the way she just described it to me. Is fascinating. So she's going to actually be on the next EMDR study group, maybe talking about that, maybe talking about something else. She's kind of like Carmen. She knows so much. It's hard to narrow it down to what to choose. But really resourcing these clients that have these acts of omission, that have these very sparse attachment relationships or ruptured relationships, they need to be in phase two. And when I say longer, it's not a time thing. It's we want way more good stuff than tough stuff. And that didn't come from me. That came from Linda Ruff. She was one of my EMDR basic trainers, and she told us that like within, I think it's the first weekend. And I always take it with me. Like before I move to phase three, from phase two, before I set up a target and move forward, do they have enough resources? What happens if they don't have enough resources? They could have an abreaction. They could have a abreaction anyway, quite frankly. It's like almost like I think of it as landmines, and we could accidentally stumble on something that we don't even know that could trigger an abreaction. And basically, that word abreaction is it's a term that describes just a big, out of proportionate response, which out of proportionate isn't mean to sound judgy, not like saying, oh, they're responding too big or they're reacting too big, but it's something huge. When you think they would react or respond this big, they're responding this big. So let's talk about resourcing. How do we resource our clients? Well, in phase two in basic training, we're taught to help them with the peaceful place. Some people call it a calm place. Some people call it safe place. Peaceful is my favorite terminology for it, just because safe has that polarity kind of vibe to it. Like if you think about safe, do you automatically go to unsafe? Or if you think about the word calm, is that a triggering word where somebody might have been like, calm down? They may have experienced that. So peaceful seems to be what's working best for me. So one way, just one of the many ways we can resource our clients beyond the peaceful place, beyond the container, beyond the playful breaths. And that's actually what we're going to be learning about in this presentation I'm doing in North Texas tomorrow, is playful ways to help regulate the nervous system. Here are some, and this is meant to be something that you could either kind of take these ideas and put it maybe in your intake packet, or you can use it as a handout. You could copy this and give it straight to, copy this one sheet. Don't give them the whole workbook. Just print out the one sheet, and you could share it with your clients. And it's like really nice to be able to have something when you're at home, and it's not meant to kind of be something that the kid does in isolation. I do need to say that. I'll circle back to that. But this is something that they can refer to so that they feel like they have some tools and they're equipped at home. A really nice support from the therapist. So if you put this either in your intake packet or part of your phase one things that you do to help kind of, or phase one and phase two, I think of them as kind of combined, because sometimes we need to do phase two first. If the client has such a complex trauma history, we can open up Pandora's box by doing phase one and getting into the trauma before they can regulate their affect. So sometimes this looks like the very beginnings of the sessions is helping the clients with regulation. I say this, and that sounds like it has a very directive vibe, but as a therapist, as a child therapist, I do lean towards the non-directive because that's where safety lies. So we do need to get directive in parts of EMDR, but there is a way to stay true to your child-centered roots. I'm trained in synergetic play therapy, which that influenced a lot of my work as well. But it's like, I think of that synergetic play therapy. It's very connected like child-centered is, but it takes it to like just a really deep attunement level. So just to kind of get back to like what when we give out these handouts of how to help your child regulate, it's not like we're giving a prescription to the client and saying, here, do this, and then you'll be better. First of all, someone can't, and I'm going to kind of throw those regulation terms out, self-regulate. You see it on these IEPs, the individual education plans. You see it on the 504 accommodation plans where, the goal is to help the kid self-regulate. Treatment plans. People, human beings, we can't self-regulate until we've actually co-regulated. We come into this world in need of human connection. When we're born, if we don't have human connection and communication from our nervous system will literally die. So that's why people in isolation, people that have experienced abandonment, have such dysregulation in their nervous system because of that. So dysregulation is when you can be upset and sad and still be regulated. The dysregulation is when you don't have any safety and connection in there. So doing a few, I'd say few, that you really can't count it because everyone comes to the table with different needs, different presenting resources, needs. But starting off with child-centered play therapy creates and establishes this foundation of safety. If we were to look at, and I'm just going to pull up my fidelity checklist real quick. I think there's one in the book too. If we were to look at the what needs to happen in phase two is that there needs to be this, let me share my screen. I love workbooks, even though I recognize workbooks are like a directive vibe. I like to have something I can look back at. If we look at what needs to happen in phase two, there needs to be a strong therapeutic relationship for sufficient safety. That's a non-negotiable. There has to be some kind of felt sense of safety, or else once we get into these targets, it's just going to be like they're going to be back in their pain again and not feel safe and connected. So some of these clients may not feel safe with us, and it doesn't mean we're doing anything wrong or doing anything right. It just means that they may have experienced, their nervous system may have been shaped by experiences. Their response of what happened inside, they may have been traumatized, that makes it hard to connect. So anything that has that non-directive, like I go back to Gary Landreth, he's one of the pioneers of our play therapy field. Dr. Landreth says, we don't want to expect the client to be any different than they are. We don't want to, come at them, and I'm kind of ad-libbing here my own stuff. We don't want to come at them a list of things that they need to change. When somebody's with you, and think of that word with as in like capitals, bold, underlined, maybe flashing, when they're truly present with you, it creates a sense of safety in connection. And that's what the child-centered vibe has. So in phase two, when we're working with the client and we're resourcing, part of our resourcing is our relationship with them. They feel that deep sense of connection. Now, when you're doing that, and you get people do kind of, I think about like a really experienced therapist, may really kind of move along the continuum as necessary. But you can do these things that are more directive after you've established a strong relationship. I love this. I got this from Sandra Stanford. Imagine breathing in a cool color and out a warm color. So breathing in, what I'd like you to do in the chat right now is just imagine a cool color, and don't imagine it in the chat. I'd like you to just type in the chat, what would be your cool color and what would be your hot color. Now, and my goal with this is to really notice that what's regulating for one is not regulating for another. So, for example, I'm going to put mine in here. So my cool color is blue, and my hot color is red. But look at that. Paige has a cool color purple, and the hot color's red. Hot color's really red. Paige, you put it in capital letters. Oh yeah, and then Becky said her cool color's blue, and then hot color black. And oh, I love that. Somebody, Michelle, you're like, your cool color is teal. I love that. Yeah, just a cool color. That's beautiful. And then your hot color's red, and then there's a warm color. So look at the variation. Look how that varies just amongst our group. Danielle said sage and red. Oh, now we're getting into all those beautiful crown colors. That's why I like to buy the big box of crowns so that we can have all those variations. So what I'm kind of getting at right here is what is regulating to one is dysregulating to another. So we don't want to say, let's breathe in, which is ironic because you'll see it on some of my stuff. I actually did have like breathe in blue skies, breathe out gray. But in reality, blue may be dysregulating for someone. So asking them in phase one, hey, what's your cool color? What's your hot color? In some of these playful ways of breathing to regulate, you already have that established. Read a book. Now, is that everybody's cup of tea? No, sometimes reading is actually a trigger if someone struggles in school, or that maybe their trauma is related to reading. Any of these may be a trigger. So remember, to be very kind of flexible in what you suggest. We're not like the authoritarian teacher, like you do that and I tell you what to do and you do it. This is stuff we will do with the clients. We're not expecting them to self-regulate at all. We're even when we give this to parents, we're sharing, hey, do this with your child. Listen to your favorite music. I love music. So in my trainings, I play Hauser as a cello player. That will regulate me. Does that regulate everyone? Absolutely not, especially that. But what would regulate one could dysregulate another. So remember, all of these things you can really explore playfully in your phase one history taking. Drink water. Now, definitely we do all benefit from water, but that's one of those things where, maybe somebody has maybe a trauma related to being forced to drink water, or maybe they have something that so these would all be options. That's where the safety lies in choices are a cue of safety. Another one, play outside in nature. It's been a while now. I wrote a chapter for Dr. Janet Courtney's book on nature-based play therapy, and it's on actually EMDR. I do EMDR at the beach where I'm located here in Central Florida. Actually, I'm in Texas right now, but where I live in Central Florida, nature has this capacity for equilibrium. If you think about it, especially if we don't have any shoes on, we can literally ground on a very literal, connected to the earth. I have my clients, we even walk in the water for the bilateral stimulation. I see these suds start to drop when we're playing. I've learned a lot from Janet Courtney and Jamie Lynn Langley, and also another nature-based play therapy guru, Lisa Dion and Rose Pierre Harvey and Lynn Louise Wonders. I'm sure I'm missing somebody. But when you do that, there's this dual awareness, and that is definitely dual awareness is an EMDR term. That's the capacity to be one foot in the past, what happened or what didn't happen, the trauma, and or this how it's stored in your body, in the present, when you're in nature, you are present. You have the sensory stuff is just alive. I was just talking to, I think it's Andrea Vargas, about like a school in South Florida that is like nature based. A school. Could you imagine? That would be so amazing. What a great environment to be able to learn in. So if you are able to integrate nature or suggest like, hey, in movement, going outside and playing with your child outside in the backyard could be very grounding and healing and connecting. That's something that parents can do to really support the regulation of theirs and their children's autonomic nervous system. Remember, this is the togetherness. This isn't asking them to do it on their own. Move my body to music. I say that, oh my goodness, I went to a child's home last week. It was last Friday. I usually don't do home visits, but I did this time. And we're doing freeze dance in their living room. And my leg popped and it hurt real bad. And I just had my 49th birthday. And I was like, oh my goodness, is this what it's like to get old? Sure enough, I like hurt it. But now it's like a week later and, I'm walking normal. So I couldn't have hurt it too bad. But, we were playing freeze dance. So I say that as a word of warning, like stretch. If you're going to be moving, I don't know where you are in your body flexibility. I thought I was doing pretty good because I'm like a YouTube yogi, watches people on YouTube, and now I'm doing yoga all of a sudden for a couple months, and I think I'm doing great. And then freeze dance takes me down. So I say that with like, if you are going to get like in these like really kind of engaged and you're going to be moving and playing, which the nervous system loves, do some stretching. It definitely can end differently than what you may imagine. That was like the strangest session ever. The mom was a massage therapist, and then she ended up like, oh, I'll check it out, Jackie. Let me look at your leg. And then the child got my phone from my purse and took a picture of us. It's just like this is literally unlike any session that I've ever had. So, stretch. I'm saying all this like distracted in a distracted way. Stretch before you really kind of get into, even if it's something as simple as freeze dance. I'm kind of putting my lowercase t trauma out there, but it is something good that we do. If we're going to be really connecting with these clients, it's good for us to feel healthy in our bodies, or regardless, for us to feel healthy in our bodies. Laying down and focusing on the breath going in and out of the nose. That's the key for meditation. Now, this person's laying down, you can set up, but I had always thought that like meditation was this complex thing. Every time I would try to meditate, I was like, I have more thoughts than ever. It's like a circus in here now. I need to do something to distract myself. I didn't understand how simple meditation is. And ironically, the complexity is in the simplicity. Oh, that was good. I should write that down. It's definitely something way easier than I thought. Basically, you get distracted. That's, one of the benefits of meditation, helps you not to, but you just bring your focus right back to the breath. You could do it 1,000 times a minute, a gazillion times a minute. You just bring it back. Kids really respond to it. We're getting at this playful EMDR summit, which Ann and Annie may pop in to say hello. They're the other host.
I'm here.
We're gonna. Oh, are you there? Who's there?
Annie Monaco. I'm here.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Let me find you, Annie. We're gonna do. Actually, Annie is the one. Annie's a big influence on me. She meditates literally every day, like way more than. I'm trying to find you, Annie.
Okay, I'm waving.
Let me see.
How do you not see me? Everybody sees me. They're all smiling. I got a background of my
nature.
Nature.
I think, Annie, you could probably describe this a little bit better than me, although I do it, we're going to do it together. But the benefits of meditation and how you can playfully do it. She's like, their name of their business is Playful EMDR. I know probably all of you know them in here. So Ann Beckley Forrest and Annie Monaco, they're the co-host of the Playful EMDR Summit. And we're going to do the meditation there. But could you talk about like meditation with kids? Like, I know you just were going to say no, so you can say no.
Well, I think a couple of things I have done with kids that, try to get their nervous system to slow down is to move really slowly. So playing like a mimicking game, like follow me or I'll follow them. And I
Mhm.
guess, yeah, like your hyper kids who have lots of energy. So then I say, well, you have to go really slow and I'm going to mimic you. Also eating mindfully. So I'll have an apple or some kind of candy and they have to eat it slowly. So that's another great way to teach kids
Oh,
to
yeah.
get the taste of food,
Mhm.
especially foster care kids who, probably didn't have the greatest food growing up. So then teaching them to taste food to me is really important. So,
Yeah,
but
taste it. So
the sitting, the what I do in the morning, the sitting, the listening to a meditation is really, it's something you grow into, right? And so kids and teens probably struggle with that in the beginning.
yeah, and I know you've been doing it for a while. I just recently started doing actually when Ann told me about the Calm app and then
Yeah,
Rodham said he does it every day. I notice a difference when I miss. And I think
yeah,
about some of these kids, they don't know the difference.
yeah.
And I do want to say one thing that I learned from you that's pretty profound that I'm thinking that people may benefit from. I've had this happen in session where a child is so dysregulated to where they even start hitting their parent. And then you're thinking, what do I do? It just seems, if you could just kind of, if that's happened to you ever, just write it in the chat, that's, just really extreme dysregulation. I heard you say in a video that we were on with Rodham about even having like some shocking, like pop rocks or something like
Yeah,
that. Can you talk about that?
fireballs. So, my caseload right now is 100% highly dissociative DID kids. And so when they're in flashbacks, when they're in other parts, and so they might come, the one boy was hurting me. He was 16 years old and grabbed my wrist and was going to try to hurt me because he was in a different part. And I opened a fireball up and I said, oh, open your mouth up. And you have to make sure kids are not allergic to candy and check with parents prior to ever doing this. But I popped it in his mouth and he went, and he goes, that's spicy, right? So he became present because of that, right? So, but then he let go of my arm. He came back and I go, oh, you can't spit it out. That's a rule in here. You can't spit it out. And he didn't, and he was able to come back to himself. And
Oh my goodness, it's so
yeah.
great.
So I think it's one of my, profound ways to get kids very present back in the room. And scents too, really strong smelling, I say not the most pleasant scents, nasty smelling scents are a great way to get kids more regulated. Um,
Like stinky garbage. I
yeah,
think about
yeah, it's like actually a lot of the scents that are strong I got from Asia. I mean they sell them all over the US or wherever, but yeah. And so it's a really strong smelling scent. I had an adult woman who was hyperventilating. She was in such a horrific flashback. And my dog was in the session and my dog tried to paw her and get her present. And we couldn't. And I was going to have to call the ambulance. She was going to pass out. And
wow.
I had just come back from Singapore and I
Mhm.
grabbed the scent I had bought and I put it under her nose. And she was like, what is that? Right. But she became present. And
It
I've
brought
used
her
it with
back.
used that with a lot of foster care kids too. Um,
Wow.
yeah. Yeah. So
That's really helpful to kind of really realize that it's not something that, and I think, many times people out of desperation will, say that maybe even some punitive, if we fall back on like emergency, but just having that knowledge there can be so beneficial. It's
yeah.
so good. Hey, just
Oh,
real quick while you're here, I know I just want to ask you one more question. You're like, I was just
go
gonna say.
ahead. Go ahead.
Um, counting, I saw where I got that email last week about the counting. What is that, and can that be used in EMDR?
Yeah, so progressive counting. Okay, so Ricky Greenwald is the person that I run my EMDR trainings under, which is the Child Trauma Institute, Trauma Institute. So Ricky, many years ago, developed a similar model that now he's gaining tons of research. And so the model is a trauma therapy model. It's comparative to EMDR, but it's way easier to learn and it helps with kids or teens or adults who flood from EMDR. So
okay.
sometimes, EMDR can make you go to all sorts of memories, right? Which is the beauty of EMDR. But progressive counting uses basically a counting method. So think about that traumatic event while I count to 10, while I count to 20, and then you do 1, 2, 3, 4. So instead of the eye movements as the distractor, it's the counting. Now,
Ooh,
with kids, we might use puppets, as we're counting. You might tap their hands as we're counting. We might just do that, hit the table as we're counting. But it's a way easier model to learn. And for those that are trained in both, I'll use PC with anybody that might get really flooded from a very, like a long attachment history issue or things like that.
oh, that's so
Yeah.
good. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was like, I wonder what even that is. That's good. Okay. Um, so you could use it for like affect management too, if you needed.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's a trauma method, very much like
Mhm.
there. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, girl. Thank you. Hey, I just want to say, like, we're gonna be doing yoga on the beach with Ana Gomez.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I put my website in the chat if anybody wants to visit. I have an EMDR with teens training coming up. If anybody works
Oh,
with teens, very resistant teens, and how to work with their caregivers, how to do EMDR. I give like a 2-hour case example of a case of a 16-year-old boy. So if anybody wants
hey,
to,
can you email me that too, and then I'll put it
yeah,
in the
I could
community.
I could actually probably upload it in the chat.
Okay, yeah,
Let
if
me
you
do that.
upload in the chat. Hey, if you have like a second, Kelly had said, how would you use the senses to help a patient be more present if they are neurodivergent and so really sensitive to smells and things in the mouth? I think some of them are even like adverse to like any bilateral stimulation, like any kind of direction on that.
So I have to tell you that I wish I was a researcher because I would do research. By the way, I dropped the teen brochure in the
Oh, there it is. Okay.
um, but I have found that the headphones from tappers or whatever have
Mhm.
been unbelievable with this population. Um,
Okay.
to the point that I had the mother of the one teenager become a therapist because she couldn't believe how amazing it makes them talk more freely, it makes them process. I just think the sound is really the way to go with the
Okay.
yeah.
It does make me think about like safe and sound protocol with the neurodiverse population. I think like autistic clients, um, a lot of them are, and just generalizing, but a lot of them are drawn to headphones that they use it for gaming.
Yes.
And so that's a comfort. So when you ask them to put on the headphones for the safe and sound protocol, that's where they love that. So I didn't even think about it because one thing I recommend in my training is maybe even consider like maybe a dual speaker. You can get dual speakers, put some EMDR music, but that it actually has it to where you can control the bilateral.
Well, and something that I've really just found recently, and so I want to actually do a research study on it, is I just watched Adi Zhang's material, the 2.0, and I have followed Adi Zhang for 6 years, and I've really said he's way out there, he doesn't do enough preparation, and I just watched 3 days of him, and I just used his material with a foster care kid, a DID adult, and another DID little boy. And I had profound sessions just from one time of using EMDR 2.0.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Somebody said to me today, I was talking about it, and she goes, "You sound like you found Jesus." And I think for any Christians out there, I believe it strongly in all of that. But I laughed because I was like, I have not been this excited in 30 years. And now they don't teach how to do it with children. I just took his stuff and went in and did it with my 2 foster care kids. And the one girl, the mother said, I'm not going to adopt her because she hurts animals. She's hurting her sister. One session of Adi Zhang's 2.0, and she has stopped hurting animals and stopped hurting her child.
Oh
And
my
I'm blown
goodness.
away. I'm blown away. So I wrote them and I said, you got to help me set up a research study with kids. So that's
Research study, and then you'll be teaching it, and we'll be like,
I'll be
where's the
teaching
link?
so,
You know,
so
I was in Robin Shapiro that wrote and did an
Yeah.
interview with her too in her ego states training. That training was good.
she
It was
used to
so
be my
good.
consultant. She's very, very good.
Oh, you know her.
Yeah, she used to be my consultant for several years. I had her.
Oh, okay. Oh, that
Uh,
explains a lot. Ding, I'm just thinking that explains a lot because she does have a similar vibe. But she demonstrated EMDR 2.0, and this girl like literally she like had this adverse reaction to like hand sanitizer, and
Oh,
then after like it was like 15 minutes, not if that,
yeah.
it went away, and it was so weird, so intense. I say weird in a good way, but it was like, oh my gosh, you could see she had to spell these words backwards and all the methods of BLS, and then she's like, it's gone.
It's so crazy. And his videos just are what hooked me. And a participant in the audience, and I won't give away the story, but after I saw what happened with this participant, it was unbelievable. So,
Mm. Oh,
all right.
that's cool.
I do
Okay.
have to go. Nice meeting everyone. I put my website in there. I will throw my email if people want to talk more about Adi Zhang.
Hey, there is a message for you in the chat. Kelly said you can never retire.
Oh, so I say this now. This is my thing now. I want to retire. So before I
Fair enough.
retire, I have to train everybody in dissociation and how to work with children.
Yeah.
So
All of us.
Tracy, what do you mean? What training do you recommend for this? Are you talking about Adi Zhang?
I just put the link in there about the EMDR 2.0.
Sure, if that's what she means. So
I bet it is. Oh, Danielle. That was Danielle said that. All right. Well, thank you. That's such a treat. We're going to be meditating
Nice.
together.
Yes, we are meditating together. All right, everyone. Bye-bye. Take
All
care.
right. Catch you later. Bye-bye. And we got a little taste of Annie today. She did say she was just going to stop and say, hey, that was nice of her. Okay, if you have any questions, Marshall is up next. He should be, if he has the right link. If he doesn't show up within like 5 minutes or so, I'll go ahead and email him again. But if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'm just going to kind of go back to the workbook and show you the 4 elements. I think about when we think of the term grounding, it has so many meanings, right? But we can actually ground with our clients. We can use the 4 elements in a real playful way. We could even bring in some lemon slices, certainly the lemon imagery. That's one of the ways. It has the same vibe of what Annie was talking about with the fireball, to be able to kind of pull people back into their present. It can circumvent a panic attack. I've seen it with many situations. Another representation, think about like fire, water, earth, and air. It's not like quite literally fire, but like that has some spiciness to it, right? And then there's this, the sun has some heat. Water could be like cold water. And then there's the water from like the earth and the ocean. Then all of these are kind of like outside, so grounding. And then the flowers and the mud can be the earth, and just this imagery can be pretty powerful. But you can just kind of go to the depth that you really see the possibilities with the bubbles and going outside. You could play I Spy. You can have them do some mind. What are 5 ways that you can describe it? That would be with words. Can you be the tree? You can have them embody some of these natural elements. Okay, so next up, let me show you real quick before Marshall gets on. Marshall, are you here? He's not here yet. I heard it's like the doorbell ring, like somebody come in our house. The feeling sheet right there. That's something. This isn't Carmen's work, but it is a feelings poster that you could print out and you could give to your clients. You could make a poster of it, or this has a little bit more of the body posture that goes with it. You may have your own feelings. There's really, or of course you have your own feelings, your own feeling visuals. There's no right or wrong. I do have, I brought some body scans here with me. I will post this in Rotim's EMDR learning community as well. Just while we're waiting on Marshall, I want to share with you. This is updated. Many of you have seen this. And I'll upload it into our EMDR learning community. I do sell it outside of here, so don't like give it away freely. It's for you, like as part of our group. But basically, it's a way to help children gain that somatic awareness. So we have 3 states of the nervous system. Actually, I consulted with Marshall Lyles to when I was developing it, and it was actually Deb Dana's idea to not Deb Dana. Deb Dana, I've never actually talked to her in person. She's like the guru on all of it. Deb McManus, the one that's going to talk about how to set up a target. I was showing her my body scan before, and she's like, "Where are your other states?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "We like your dorsal state." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, you're right." So these are the 3 different states of the autonomic nervous system through polyvagal language. There's other ways to describe it that are fabulous as well. So Dr. Siegel's and Pat Ogden's Wind of Tolerance is pretty amazing too. But this is the polyvagal lingo, and also there's these hybrid states. And this is where play lives right there. It's anything that has the green in there, has some ventral in there, is regulated. So you can be anxious and worried and still be connected, and you can, be regulated. Becky and I were talking about this on the way home from the airport too. But you can also be regulated in times of shutdown and connection. Think of a little baby in the arms of the mom that falls asleep. There's shutdown, there's this kind of release. Where dysregulation occurs is when there's no ventral vagal, there's no connectedness, no engaged, that's why asking these kids to regulate by themselves when they have not had the experience of co-regulation, it's a really tall order. Oh, Marshall is here. Okay, so I'm going to pin Marshall. Remember, if you have any questions for Marshall, feel free to put them in the chat. Marshall's definitely one of these people that, like, every single time that I hear something that he's said, I read something that he's written, anything, like my work changes, like in a profound way. Just with like one training on poetry, I've had a huge shift in my work. And I went to a beautiful an event that he hosted with a group, and it's fascinating. So I'm going to resist the urge to talk because Marshall is so valuable. But I'm going to be checking the chat. So if you have questions for him, put them in the chat, and we'll try to organically fit it in with this conversation. But if not, then if it can't, I'll take the questions, and then I'll try to get some answers and post it in the EMDR learning community. Hi, Marshall. Good morning.
Hey, Jackie. How are you?
I'm chatty Cathy this morning. I'm like talking like a mom. I was telling them about, I consulted with you for this body scan right here. And I remember one thing that you told me so clearly that I don't think I'm ever going to forget. I was like, I found out like all of these states, they're all unnecessary. None of them are good or bad or right or wrong. We shouldn't villainize the dorsal mobilize. And you're like, yeah, don't take away my dorsal. I need my dorsal. I was like, that's so good.
I get very, very protective over my dorsal.
Give it to me.
Therapists are always trying to take it.
Oh my goodness. I just love even hearing your voice. It's like an anchor, a ventral vagal, like a brain came down. Okay, so today what I was thinking, I think there's this, and I'm going to speak for myself, and I'm thinking maybe it's the case with all the amazing therapists in here. They may have at least had this kind of lack of knowledge, and I still, have a lot to learn. I love that book that you wrote with Linda Omar on the advanced sand tray. This kind of what happens in the brain with the integration of EMDR and expressive arts. And I know I went to your training there in Austin, and you talked about Bonnie Botnock's book, which is literally one of the best books I've ever read, The Brainwise Therapist. And there's like a lot of stuff happening in the brain. Can you talk about that, the integration of expressive arts and EMDR?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the first thing I always like to say when it comes to either EMDR or the arts and the brain is we really have no idea. However, there are really good theories, and for me, when I'm reading about developing neuroscience or new and emerging theories explaining brain body connection, I ask myself, if even if this is debunked later, am I ever going to regret having emphasized it? And that's where I end up feeling really soothed by a lot of the progress we're making, because most of these theories about what might be happening at an integration level, regardless of if they end up being completely factual in all of their details, we know we're enhancing relational awareness. We know we're teaching people to love their body and all of its reactions. I can't see any harm, coming from those things. And so that's my disclaimer going into it as we spin out, potential.
Spin out, be like, here's our foundation.
I said this at your group in Florida, Jackie, that I don't know that it's not strong enough to be a pet peeve, but one of the things I worry about is when we as a profession start trying to prove that we finally have legitimacy because of neuroscience. And I don't think that we should be holding those things up to prove that healing is happening, that we're already legitimate, that these things are beautiful to talk about because they can be inspirational and they can be really holding, and they can help give language to something very primitive that often hasn't been seen or witnessed or spoken about. But it doesn't make any of us more capable or more or less of an imposter if we're just going to speak direct language. We were already fine. We're all doing fine. We're doing good work. But when I think
But
about,
I kind of hear what you're saying, Marshall, is that we don't need to prove our worth to anybody.
for
We just
sure.
need to focus on what we intuitively is like yesterday at that session. I've been integrating poetry in there. I literally felt the lady's healing. I didn't need to describe that to anybody, how what was happening in the brain. Something amazing happened. There was some healing, and it was poetry, EMDR, sand tray, and some Oaklander model. It was like a little bit this, a little bit.
Do you know, I went to Sedona recently, Jackie, to do a thing. And when I was there, I don't know if any of you have spent time in Sedona, but there is some kind of crystal that will heal you on every corner. It is there's just healing potential everywhere. It really is. And the people who practice all of these different healing arts, you just have these encounters where you can feel that there's kind of a presence. And for those of you who don't really know me, I have muscular dystrophy, and so my spine was giving me a lot of trouble when I was there. So I went in for this random. I just walked in off the street, unlike me, and met this guy who said, "Yeah, I do spine treatments." And he put me on a table and lined singing bowls along my spine and played the bowls directly on my back. Yeah. He never once tried to explain to me the science of what was happening. We didn't have some long, 30-minute dialogue about informed consent where he tried to convince me of the legitimacy. He just said, "I have something that I think might help you. Let's see how you feel after." And it was the most lovely encounter, so there's so much we can't explain, but part of the suspicion about the integration that can happen within a person by combining both EMDR and expressive arts is rooted in what we know about any multimodal work. The more different arts and approaches that can be held in one moment, you're having the better chance of reaching all of the aged parts within someone, regardless of what ability level or developmental stage a person might have from one channel to the next. When you have these arts available, within your EMDR practice, you're just ensuring that even if we find a channel that's 4 years old and doesn't have as many words, and even though we're trying to stay in the present, allying ourselves to that 4-year-old channel might require a different way of communicating than we were just 4 minutes ago. And so just having these things around you enhances opportunities.
Yeah, music and play. I'm still fascinated by the singing, but I mean, all this is so good. The singing bowls, I have some singing bowls myself, the vibrations, but there is some science behind it, but you didn't need to know the science as the person to benefit from it. It was this kind of human, this guy had this knowledge. He infused it in like your day, what was happening that day. Did it help?
It was remarkable. He did the bowls on my spine, then he left them there. He put some kind of soft drum that draped over my neck and gently played it. But then out of the corner of my eye, I saw him pick up one of those didgeridoos. I was like, what part of my body is he about to stick that thing on? We did have a paused moment of consent conversation about that. The rest of it went just fine.
Oh, that's fun. So he went over and played the didgeridoo. You have the drum on your neck and you have all the bowls on your back, and there's like vibrations and energy and everything happening. And
Oh,
did you
yeah.
allow him to put the didgeridoo, or did he touch you with it?
He laughed and he said, I would never play this near you. It's too strong. But it
Like,
was
don't touch me there.
No, absolutely. That every one of these instruments was doing this bilateral, both sound and vibration, tactile,
Wow.
as we were doing the treatment. It was really
That's
lovely. And the thing about something like that also is so true for this topic is integration covers so many different layers, right? There's like the body mind integration that has to be happening, which polyvagal theory talks so much about, and
right.
Van der Kolk talks so much about. But then there's the hierarchy within the skull brain, the vertical
Paris.
integration.
Mm-hmm.
Siegel does such a good job talking about that. Paris does a great job. We have the horizontal integration, the hemispheric, which is, so much comes from Alan Shore and Ian McGilchrist. But then we also have memory networks that are waiting to be integrated into the rest of the story, into the other flow of energy that is all the rest of the networks. And so there's multiple types of integration that we're trying to hold awareness of, from body to narrative, and the more accessibility we provide to people, the greater likelihood that we're going to be meeting that complexity.
Oh my gosh, I love that. You know what's coming to mind is Masha Bennett. I know she did a training for the World Association for Sound Therapy Professionals. I say that slower now, which is an amazing organization. I know you do one too, but she does all the sound and everything. In EMDR, like how would that, like where would you use it, or do you intuitively know when, like how do you even know when to put what where as far as like the didgeridoo? I know sand tray, but in didgeridoo I could kind of think of some phase 2 stuff, but what would be like, how do you even know, or is it something you just get training on and you fit it in where the goals are?
Yeah, I think step one for EMDR therapists is to immerse yourself in the different art forms that you're interested in. Definitely there are mental health trainings in bringing sound and music in, and bringing art or sand and poetry, but even more than that, make it part of your personal practice. Really, I say both go to an art therapy workshop, but also go to art class, like really be in the form so that it starts to feel like an extension of yourself, of your communication. And then after that, I know you're going to find this just completely shocking, Jackie, that I'm not a very traditional EMDR therapist.
You
I know, right? Can you imagine? I think that there are two opposing ends that people hold at odds in EMDR, and I don't want to be a part of that. On the one hand, of leading with structure, of I'm moving you through these phases, client. I am helping you to choose the target client. On the other end, is very potentially organic, where if we believe in AIP and then it says the wisdom of all of this is in the client's body, could we believe that if we show up and offer them the right materials and relationship, that they are going to naturally find their rhythm of moving through the phases, and that we then get to amplify where they are in the process with the materials that are presented in that moment, and so that any one of these forms can be a part of history taking all the way to reevaluation, if you're watching for it to be the natural extension of the moment.
Oh, I love it. That sounds to me like the kind of client-centered, child-centered. I'm so connected with the client that I'm not pre-planning. I'm just literally in the moment with the client and offering them what they need. Kind of like that Dr. Malchiati vibe of let's kind of be with, and then if the like the interventions and stuff kind of present themselves. Is that kind of what you're saying?
It is. I mean, when you read Francine's original book, in the first paragraph, basically, she talks about person-centered therapy as her foundation. It's just, I think the more manualized EMDR became, it started being treated more like a CBT approach. But that was not its heart. That was not its origin story. It had a lot to do with systems and object relations and person-centered and holding these dynamics. I get that we live in a world where evidence-based is a thing, and I'm not going to go on a rant about that today, so everybody can take a breath.
I love it. I do think
I
that's where
get it.
safety lives, though, right? Safety is with connection, and if we get too rapid fire questioning and too directive, there's more I'm above you and I'm assessing you rather than I'm with you.
Absolutely. And, if on a good day, I can give a lot of credit to the movement that there's some degree of people that are wanting to be really, really efficient and understanding that not all people who can go to therapy can be there for long. And so there's this desire to want to make the best use of the time. And that often starts to feel like then we need to be directive in order to do that. I can really identify with that argument, but I think there are a lot of premises we've accepted along the way that must be true. And one of them being, if someone has a short amount of time, it's better to be directive and get through as many targets as possible instead of to be organic and expressive and artistic and only maybe make it through one. And I'm just gonna prefer the latter. I think I can trust the generalizability of someone whose whole body and whole mind was able to move through an experience once and believe that after me, they'll be able to carry that into other parts of their life versus feeling some pressure to lightning speed move through a bunch of different things.
I have to say, that's definitely the experience that I had. You did that training on all parts are welcome. And you go to these trainings and you think that, oh, I'm going to learn some skills to use with my clients. I had a profound experience to where I was feeling effects from that training, from actually my experiential part, from like you did had us do Fraser's table, which is often used in EMDR, right there in the sand tray. I put the pirate underneath the sand. That would literally, it was like the process, it just got better and better. And that was what, 2 days or 3 days, whatever it was life changing. It wasn't EMDR, but it was amazing. So I do think, I mean, you didn't even target anything directly. Well, I guess my therapist did, but it can have a
It's
big
the thing
effect.
about metaphors, isn't it? That the human mind will stay in dialogue with a metaphor for ages longer than they will a direct part of themselves. If they think, oh, I'm talking to the 30-year-old part of myself, that falls out of mind. But, if that part got anchored to a panda, we'll talk to that panda for ages. It's just the way that works. And so metaphor goes, I mean, it's consistent across all of those expressive forms.
Yeah, animal imagery offers some lots of inner resources. So I don't want to like gobble up all Marshall's time, and I know you only have a little bit, but if you have any questions or comments for Marshall, put them in the chat. And this is a huge opportunity. Marshall's actually going to be teaching us at the Playful EMDR Summit here in November, or actually, Marshall, I'm in Houston right now. I'm like kind of close to you. Although Texas is so big that even Houston's not close to Austin.
Yeah, it's closer than you normally are.
But Claudia said Teresa Kesley did drum. Oh, she's the sand tray. Is she in New Mexico? I know that name. Drumming, cleaning demonstration in her last person sand tray training, and took a video of it. Mind blowing. Sand tray's fascinating. I always go back to like when COVID started. I was like, hey Marshall, what do you think about these online and these electronic versions? And you're like, I think they're okay, but it's like eating vegan cheese. It's not really cheese. I was like, that's like the metaphor, the analogy. Like I will literally never forget that. That's been what, 2 years ago now.
Vegan cheese is good. I just think it needs a different name.
Yeah,
It would really change my expectations when I go in.
Yeah, that you're training you out all that good, yummy food. All right. So, all right. So you're struggling, Elizabeth, you said that you're struggling to download the slides. We don't really have any slides, but we do have a workbook, but we will make sure that it gets out. Just gonna have to figure out how to make it smaller. Well, if you don't have any questions for Marshall, I know you're crazy busy, so you can, I mean, we'd love to keep you as long as possible, but if you need to go, then you can. I just wanted to say thank you. You're a wealth of knowledge.
It's my pleasure. Can I make one quick soapbox statement before I?
Absolutely. Yes, yes, please. I love your soapboxes. They become our soapboxes.
You know, all of our primary therapeutic modalities and models can have the tendency to not be completely inclusive, you know, not be the way that we're taught not to be considering of disability. EMDR is no exception. And one of the things that's really important to me in this season of life is trying to increase awareness of even the accidental ableism that's still trapped within these different practices that we have. And one of the things that I've noticed about people who have a diverse presentation of minds and bodies is we can make EMDR far more accessible by bringing in multiple opportunities with these expressive approaches. And being trained in more than one expressive approach helps with that. So that if you have someone that sand doesn't reach them at the way in which their body and mind can most naturally process, then being able to move to, you know, clay, or being able to move to music. But EMDR is asking the most vulnerable parts of people to believe that our space and our relationship is safe enough to welcome them in to the dialogue with all the other parts of them and with us. And if we really want to back that up, we've got to make sure we're offering things that are truly, truly, truly accessible. And so I really want all of you to believe in the power and to get the benefit of watching someone who's never had someone think about how their hands could paint versus someone else's hands, or how their mind might process the selection of figures versus maybe what we've been trained in the way that we set up spaces. And so just giving you lots and lots of permission that in order to be truly integrative at a neural level, the more that you have to offer, the more likely no one's can ever feel left out. And there's nothing worse than trying to heal trauma and then feeling alone when you leave. So I love that y'all are talking about this, and it makes me feel really warm, excited.
That'd be like re-traumatizing, being alone in your pain. And when you went to be with someone else. So when you say that, and I'm thinking many people in here maybe are even in the process of setting up maybe their expressive arts area or their play space or whatever, wherever they're able to work. Are you saying like going to your place, you have like clay, you have a table environment, you have chairs with the pillow that's Marsol that Heather was.
Yeah.
They have this pillow with this zebra there. It's so funny. But you have like all these different ways. You even have a place where people could sit on the floor or people could stand. Or is that what you're talking about? Like different
Yeah,
modalities and different like how they could
absolutely.
participate?
That they, and also even if being sensitive enough to ask in an intake, does being in a room like this, like if we're facing all my centri figures, does it make you feel curious, alive, overwhelmed, shut down? Because not everyone's having the same experience of our enthusiasm. And if they're easily overwhelmed by even the choices we have available, being able to customize, and say, well, would you like to face this wall? And then for me to select the objects for you that you're describing you need, or to shrink the collection for that person. They're just different neurodiverse and different body needs, that if we're really going to be saying we're about integration, we've got to be thinking through how to have those conversations and introduce opportunity for people to access and voice their needs and for them to be easily received.
Oh, so good. Hey, on that same note, I think about like what's dysregulating to one can be regulating to another and vice versa. So, like, don't make assumptions because we like it, they will. But I know some people, gosh, who was it? I just met with somebody that has a wet sand tray and a dry sand tray, which is super cool. But they use it to manage affect. And then there's this different expression. Do you do that, or what are your thoughts on sand, wet and dry? And I know you have different kinds of sand too. I just
Yeah.
remember that, like, you're like the probably in the world. Yeah, I've never seen anybody like have all those. You Jurassic sands mainly though, right?
Yeah, I have almost all Jurassic. Yeah, I definitely have wet area and dry area. Only I would say that I don't as much worry about managing affect. If, Sometimes I think people just need to be dysregulated. And if that's what they need to be, and I can be with them, I don't have an agenda about them finding regulation. I want an intention that whatever you need to feel in whatever form you need to feel it is welcome here. And I want you to know that you don't have to feel the way you did yesterday, but I'm not going to try and change any part of you. And so I am trying to offer those things in a way that communicate complete acceptance. And it's part of why I think we do get in the way of integration a little bit when we rush prematurely to regulate someone. Like sometimes a fit is deserved. Throw that fit. I'll be here with you in it. I'll stay regulated for you, but I have no issue with you, um, needing to have some messy expression.
I love that. I love that. When you say that, I think about, and I just kind of recently learned this in the last few years, is like the adaptations. Like there's a reason why that person needs to move and why they need to scream or why they're doing it. If we shut it down because it's maybe uncomfortable, like the polar bear video. Oh, Andrea Vargas is in here. I was literally just talking about you. Do you know Andrea Vargas? She's in South Florida. Have you met her, Marshall?
I can't remember, Andrea, if we've met before.
She's
No, I don't think we
amazing.
have.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's amazing. She has I love the thought again. So she like was telling me about this nature-based school. Like literally where her kid, can you talk about that to Marshall real quick, Drea? It's
Yes.
amazing.
So I've always heard about forest schools. And I always thought they were, somewhere not in Florida, but I did find one in South Florida. And my kids were going there once a week last year, and it was just so amazing. It's a little far for us, so we stopped going. But it was just a beautiful, beautiful experience for them. I since found a nature-based Montessori. It's like a homeschool co-op, and it's on this mom's ranch, and it's also outdoors, and it's. I mean, it's every little kid's dream. I think my dream. I wish I had gone to school.
Oh, that's
I
beautiful.
love that. It's like bringing the beautiful mother nature in, right in there with you. I want to show you, this is like literally people are asking me like where to get good trainings. And this one of the websites I go to is Marshall has all these things. They do fill up quickly though. It's funny, last time when I registered with his training for his training, I didn't even know what it was for. I literally registered for it. I'm a little kind of like impulsive too, but I had tried to go to the trainings and I'd be thinking about it. You want to go to Marshall's training? I think about it, and then I go to register and it's full. It's like, shoot. And finally I saw one was open. It was, I think it was like early in the morning. I was like, I'm registered. And then I was like, I wonder what that training's for. But it was incredible. Did I tell you
But-
that, Marshall? I don't know if
Yeah, yeah. When we were driving around, I laughed at you a lot about that. You know, it's honestly a little bit of an illusion that I always feel like I want to be responsible. I'm just so introverted that I like small groups. And so it's really easy to fill a training when you only let 6 or 8 people come. That's just, I did it. I had to do all these, Deb and I were joking about this one time. I accidentally mark it. I don't mean to, but I tend to have things that fill up quick, and that then makes people rush to things just because there are so few spots that I open.
scarcity. It's a marketing technique.
And I would love to welcome you all. I will tell you that I only, other than the November thing with Jackie in Florida, I have one event in November that's EMDR based. It's not going to be kid focused. It's going to be using poetry and sand to work with complex attachment presentations of in the NVR. So that's the only one I have any spots left. And I think they're like 2 or 3 or something. Everything else is getting into next year. And I'm not going to do as much traditional here at my space. I'm not going to do traditional trainings. It's going to be healing for healers retreats. And so if you want to come be with a small group of other healers, and some of the weekends will focus on sand and some on clay and some in poetry. Some of them I get to be with dear friends of mine. It looks like Terry Kottman and I are going to be doing one of those together, and a couple of other colleagues. And so that's what I'll be doing next year. I'm just going to take a year off from like anything where systems regulate what I do. I'm going to go ahead and take a break from them for a second.
I love that. And if you don't know Terry Kottman, she's the creator of Adler and Play Therapy. She's amazing. So Marshall had this big thing on poetry, and he invited people to like be present while they were reading their poetry. Oh my gosh, I cried when she read hers.
Oh, it was so powerful.
Yeah, it's like all of them. You had us like listen to parts that were meaningful. Type in the chat. Like some parts we were laughing, some parts we were crying. I was like, that was literally one of the most beautiful things, and that was just experiencing other people's poetry.
It is. It's remarkable. And if you want to, come to the city of hippies and do hippie things in the name of healing, we
Is
got
that?
space for you in Austin. Come on down.
Oh my gosh, for real? Is that what it's called? Is that what they call it? They think I did go, Claudia Ocampo. Yeah, we went to these stores. In the coffee shop, they literally had hat steaming, where they was fixing the hats, and we got these the miniatures and stuff. It really is an amazing place.
On my little street here, there's 3 shops in a row. One, you can go get your hat steamed. The other, you can go buy CBD, unless you go out the back door. And then the third is they sell supplies for spells and ceremonies. So that is very much Austin in one street. I would welcome you all. And Jackie, thank you so much for inviting me. As always, I love spending time with you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're a gift. Thanks. I appreciate it. And I think if I come back to Austin or wherever you went and got the little sound bowl things, I might hop up on the table too. I had a free hands injury recently.
I'll give you the name.
All right. All right. I'll catch you later. Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye. Thanks. So, Andrea, thank you, or Drea. I always see your name, Andrea. You're Drea. Thanks for putting that in there. The natureseekers.earth. I love that. Oh, and there's Claudia. Oh, Claudia, you're in here. That's right. I was telling him about our trip in Austin when we were going to these places. Okay, so next is going to be uh, Deb McManus, but I do want to have this group vibe while we're waiting on her. I would like it. Like, what are your thoughts? We heard from Carmen today about emotional
I'm
literacy.
here, Jackie, just to let you know.
Oh, there she is. Okay, so I'm gonna, well, there you are. It's funny. And Zoom it still blows my mind how it's like so mysterious. Yeah, I'm actually gonna give it over to Deb because hers is so important. We could actually spend, if we had like a whole week on this one topic and we only have like 22 minutes. Deb is somebody that, oh, she's the person that influenced my there wouldn't be a 3-state body scan without Deb, because I mean she's brilliant. But I'm going to stop talking because I've been talking a lot. And I have in the workbook, did you see the most current workbook, Deb, with I did some screenshots, but you have the capacity to share your screen, and you're going to talk about setting up a target with a kid, which I think sometimes sometimes that's really complicated with children. And out of all of the EMDR clinicians videos I've seen through certification, yours is like one of the most amazing that I've seen, where you took like a complex case and you really picked I mean, it was just amazing. So I know this is something that this is one of your areas of expertise. So I want to thank you for being here, and I'm going to be quiet while you do your thing.
Thank you. And I just popped in. I've been doing I'm doing my Adlerian certification, and I've come from case conceptualization. So like I've been up here in the clouds thinking, and now I get to do EMDR and sit and, as Terry says, feel my butt in my seat. So I realized doing phase 3 and kind of getting it together that I've trained with really masterful mentors. I trained with Philip Manfield doing basic, and then I trained with Jen Marchand up in Canada. She's really into all the nature stuff. And by the way, she has beautiful products on Etsy. And then I've been training with Marshall for the past 2 years, and then the past year with Jackie. And I've just done Anna Gomez's part 1, or the first part of her sand tray EMDR training. And I realized that all our mentors, there's different ways of thinking about part 3 or phase 3. And so what I did was I made some infographics to kind of show people how in our EMDR world, people are thinking about it a little bit differently and using it a little bit differently. And I just wanted to present them so that, you know, as clinicians, we have to figure out what works for us, and we have to assess our clients and what works for them. And then children are a whole nother layer because they need things a certain way. So I'm going to share my screen. So the first way that we think about, oh, please work. Hold on. Let me make sure it's up.
If you need me to share something, you just, I think I have it in my email. I can.
Do you have the, like the slides of all the
monkeys?
Yeah, I need the monkeys. And the first one is that says top down.
Okay, well, I get that. They're gonna need to know a little bit about you. They need to know that when you say monkey, you're like an animal. Can you tell them where your background? You're
Oh,
amazing.
sure. Sorry, I'm
It's real
jumping
quick.
right into stuff. You can
Just
tell
a,
I've been
a
like
quickie. We only have 20 minutes, but like
so
I've never met anybody like you.
So I'm certified in animal assisted play therapy through Risa Van Fleet and Tracy. And I work with my dog, but I also recently, in the past year, got mini donkeys. And so I've been learning how to speak donkey, which is super interesting. I thought I was always going to get horses, and I don't have horses. I have donkeys. And I I'm really into integration. So that's why I've been studying with all these amazing people and taking parts of all these different things, whether it's nature or working with the animals, the EMDR, Terry Cotman's Adlerian stuff, and kind of figuring out how to make that work for kids, and kids who have difficulty with our traditional models of therapy. So, you know, I work with a lot of kids who have autism and ADHD and trauma. And like, I have one kid who can't even be in my office and talk. It's too much for him. So I found that if I bring him here, he's the one kid who gets to come to my house. And we have a ritual where we go, he picks vegetables from my garden and he eats because it's right after school. So he's hungry. So he's getting that sense of like, you're being taken care of. It's safe here. You're going to eat something nutritious, even though we don't talk about that. It's just yummy snap peas. And then he's going to work with my dogs who he knows and he feels very competent with. So he's feeling confident. And then he's feeling more regulated. And then he's going to go feed my goats, which he's taking care of something. So he's connecting. And then we'll go to my donkeys and he'll pet them and he'll have that sensory input. And his system's just getting more and more regulated. And then he goes, I have an outdoor swing. And he goes on the swing and he, one of my dogs likes to go on the swing with him. So he's laying on the swing, the dog's laying on him. I'm swinging the swing. So he's getting full body bilateral input. And then we can start to process. That's what it takes for this kid. So just many, many layers of safety and competence and regulation. And sometimes he's not regulated on the swing, kind of like what Marshall was saying, and that's okay. And I'm just with him and he's just having a crappy day and he's crying and just telling me how hard it is. So that's a little bit how I'm integrating everything. And eventually I want to have trainings here at my house where people can come and put all this together. So that's
sounds so sensory rich too. And I think about when you say he's just having a crappy day, Marshall was talking about that. Like sometimes people just need to, like they don't need to be regulated. They just need to be with someone and express the dysregulation. So, but I think if we're with somebody connected, that in itself's regulation. But I love all that.
well, I
Wow.
think about, is it Mate? Oh, I forget his name, but he talks
Gabor
about,
Mate.
yes, that trauma is experience something in the absence of not having another to help to move through it. And so that's what I think of, that I'm just with, and I think I've learned a lot from Marshall about that.
Yeah.
So
okay,
yeah.
so I put in the chat, in your chat, Deb, is not the first link, but the second link is that Canva link.
Perfect.
And then you can just share it. And we have about 12 minutes and Beckley Forrest may hop on for a little bit.
Awesome.
But, I want to make sure, in fact, like if we don't get enough time to go through yours fully, maybe you could show up again the next one. I don't know.
Sure. Well, I can just do the first 2 slides and then,
Okay.
you know, people want to, we'll figure it out.
This is in your workbook, but it's definitely, it's something that there's choices with it, which is cool.
Sorry, I just had to hit the share button. There's too many things on my screen. All right, so when I did this, I realized that there's 2 different ways of thinking about phase 3. So the first one was sort of this top down, and it's Ana Gomez does it this way. Francine Shapiro did it this way. And sort of the thinking in setting up phase 3 was that we go from the brain down through the feelings and into the body. So they do the worst part, image, negative cognition, positive cognition, and then VOC, emotion, suds, and body sensation. And so I had worked this way for a while, and then I worked a little bit with Jackie, who has a different, oh, sorry, I have a different way of thinking about it, and others have a different way of thinking about it, is that when you're setting up phase 3, that it's actually kind of a nice bilateral movement, so that you're going left brain, right brain, left brain, right brain. And so it's worst part, image, negative cognition, VOC, positive cognition, SUDS, emotion, body sensation. And this way works just fine. And I've tried both ways with kids, and different ways work with different kids. So I definitely try to get my kids who are all in their head, I probably do the first model, and my kids who are more balanced, we can do this one. And then what I figured out was some kids, oops, sorry, I put all these on for you so that you could have nice little picture graphs, but I don't have to go over them. Where's the middle one? I'm looking for the simple. There's the simple. So some kids can't do all the thought stuff, and you just lose them. Jackie does it beautifully, where she kind of really gives really simple choices to the kid, and she makes a lot of guesses and very good guesses, and almost what all the videos I've seen, the kids like, yeah, okay, I'm going to go with that. But some kids, you just lose them. And so for the littles, and I'm thinking about my kids that are like, I go down to 3. So my 3, 4, 5, I skip all the thought stuff, and I just go to the emotion, how bad is it, and the body sensation. And what I really love, I'm going to stop sharing. When we go to work with kids and we're doing phase 3, is physicalizing the motions for them is so helpful. So I will say to a kid, you know, I have the feelings chart up, and we practice a lot before we start processing. Sorry, I dropped my scope. And so they're pretty familiar. And I will say, you know, I'll give them kind of a menu. So I wonder which one. And then they'll go point to it. So I love the getting up sometimes and going to point, but sometimes it can disrupt sort of the flow. So I often have things around me. So I have my magnifying glass, and I have my measuring spoons, and I have my magic wand that can feel like, where I'm going to put the light on your body. Where do we feel it? You know? And if we're doing it in the sand tray, this was one of Ana Gomez's tricks. There's these little stickers, like, where's the little guy feeling it on his body? Right. So that might be a really nice way of physicalizing it. Another thing I do is I have my binoculars. Like, okay, I'm looking out, trying to figure it out here. And so by doing that, it's sort of making it more real. And I think the key to really getting that phase 3 part right is figuring out where's the heat, where's the part that the child is struggling with, where's the part it has that oogie feeling. And I don't use oogie with the kids unless they use it first, but you know, whatever language they use, and staying in that kid's language. So when I'm working, I'm really trying to stay in their language. And you know, with adults, when we go through the process, it's so heady, and it's so like, you do this and you do this and you do this. And I find with kids, you just really have to be in the moment and be attuned with the kids. Like, we're like, okay, so now we're brushing. You know, I use the paintbrushes a lot on their hands. We're brushing. Tell me what you think now. Right. So when we're setting it up, so let's think about that feeling. Okay. Got the feeling, they're saying it. Like, okay, got it. So I don't know, do people have thoughts about the different ways? Does it seem clear?
I'll say something real quick, Deb. As you, that's one thing that I appreciated about you is like you bring a different, like I get into my groove about how I do it, and you kind of forget like all of this not only allows for adaptations, but we need to be open to other ways because our clients need different things. So I love, it's almost like giving you permission to not get into like the cognitive statements because our kids brains aren't even fully developed, and especially with the child-centered vibe, that can be kind of hard unless you're using it as your tracking. So I love that you're presenting like there's not only one way to do it.
Mhm.
And I love the monkey, the swinging. Can you pull that up again? Like
Sure.
when you say swing, right brain, left brain, right brain, left brain, it's like already built in bilateral. But the other way is like the bottom up. I mean, there's value in all of it.
Yeah, I think each way has a different value. And, if you're working with a really little kid, then this way feels to me much easier, simpler. I'm going to get where I need to go. I may get to the cognitions later. I probably already know what they are, but I don't need them to be able to start to process, because they're going to be telling a story. And so I'm going to know what's going on in the story. This way, the first way I find that for my kids who, my sensory kids and my kids on the spectrum, it's really hard to get them out of their heads. So I think doing it this way for me helps bring them back into their bodies, because you end, you're kind of going down. So you're thinking first, and then you're feeling, and then you're really going. And then this way has this really nice bilateral motion. So there's value to all the ways of doing it. And I think that's the pleasure of working with so many masters, is that I'm figuring out that there are different ways to do this, and we can adapt it.
I had actually not even known about the ways that you can move it and like the benefits behind it. That's great. I know you are constantly, I think a lot of us are, but I think maybe you're on that like other end of the continuum. You're constantly getting amazing trainings. Like I remember when I first met you, you're like, oh, I'm having a training with Marshall and Eliana Gill. Do you remember that? That was
Uh-huh. Yeah,
and
I
I was
did
like,
there.
wow, this is great. But it's
Well,
like
I think that the pandemic's been so awful in so many ways, but the one bonus is that it's opened up for people like me. I've got 4 kids and 9 animals. I can't really travel, but I can Zoom trainings. And so it's opened up a whole world where I don't have to travel, and I can meet with masters and learn a lot. And I love it. And I'm trying to put all these ideas together. So
I love it. I love it. Thank you. So, Elizabeth, you said, what's the name of the woman with the cool stuff on Etsy? Do you know about the Etsy stuff, Deb?
Jen Marchand.
I don't even know about Jim Marchand. I know about Jocelyn Fitzgerald and Christina Sparks, whatever her last name is. She's amazing. Griffin Sparks.
I will put it, I can't do it right now to bring it up, but I will put it into our
Here, I'll
site.
share it real quick too. We have a few more minutes. Feel free to ask Deb anything you want in the chat, like literally anything. She knows so much. Oh man, that's got some obscene words on the shirt. That on Etsy.
Harry would like that.
Okay, here we go. This right here is Sparkle Wellness. She's
She's nature. Is it nature? I'm trying to think what Jen is under.
Okay, you find Jen.
Nature EMDR, I think, is what she's under.
Okay, can you put, yeah, I'll, or if you want to put it in the chat, or I'll search her real quick. This one right here, this girl is actually, she's one of the virtual vendors for the Playful EMDR Summit. I just met her. She's like literally one of the funniest people. She had her Zoom upside down. I didn't even know you could do it. But she has like EMDR mini workbook for kids. She has, where is her turtle of tolerance? Let me see.
Oh, that's a great one.
Actually, one of her clients taught her about this, and she's like, she told him. So it's like this stuff is really born out of like, that's how we create stuff. I know you do a lot of creation too, Deb, just out of stuff that your clients need. That's where it comes from. But this turtle tolerance, isn't that funny? It's like out of control in the zone and shut down, and the turtle's like kicking up its feet and everything. And then there's Jocelyn Fitzgerald. I just randomly found her looking for some EMDR stuff on here. Her stuff is beautiful. She has a window of tolerance. Is it therapy bundle? Where is her stuff? Jocelyn Fitzgerald, EMDR. I don't actually see her stuff. Her stuff is incredible. She hand draws it. She'll just randomly like draw a picture of the brain for me and send it to me. I love her. She's in Canada. Oh, that's a funny story. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I should tell it, but it's just funny. I won't tell it because but she's just hilarious. We'll leave it at that. But see here, she has the VOC right there, 0 to 10, 0 to 10. These are all hand drawn. She's an art therapist. It's an EMDR consultant as well. And she does offer a lot of stuff for free. She's in our EMDR learning community. But she has so many things. This is like the 8 phases of EMDR. And look how it's like beautiful. You can use it for a lot of like, even have like artwork up in your office. Cognitive interweave. She does something. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Okay, people ask for cognitive interweaves, and to me, it just seems like kind of like a, what do you mean cognitive interweaves? They come organically. How are you? That's like telling people like how much you're going to turn the steering wheel. Let me see, when they're driving. But she does it in a way that is really helpful. I just bought this. Well, EMDR, let's see. I'm trying to find it. It's only like $3. And she talks about use cognitive interweave sparingly, and I literally don't find it on here. But she talks about like use EMDR sparingly, and or use not EMDR, use the cognitive interweave sparingly. But she talks about like ways that you can use your gestures or little comments for when shame occurs and movements. Really good. So just real quick, Deb, what was that lady's name that you were talking about? The other lady.
She's Jennifer Marchand. It's C, Marchand.
Okay. Oof.
And we'll find her.
Yeah, we'll find her and we'll put it inside the group. Now,
And I can put this, if people want copies of this, I'm going to put it on Etsy, but for our group, I'm happy to share.
That's great.
And
oh my goodness, that'd be great. So if you could pop it in the, or you gave me the link, I could put it inside the EMDR learning community in the EMDR with Kids group.
Yeah.
So Jackie can, you also post who does the window of tolerance with the turtles, please. Christina Sparks. Sparks Wellness EMDR Etsy. Gosh, what is the link there? I just did a video with this girl. It's the best. Yeah. Wish I had all the links like ready to go because her stuff is just, she's just creative. But when you meet her, you'll realize, you'll be like, oh, like her personality, you know, like you meet people that are just, they just have like that gift for just constant ideas, just in and out. This way my friend Becky is, this way Deb is, just like, it doesn't, like literally there's a rapid fire idea party going on in their head at all times. How would you describe it, Deb?
I don't know. I wake up at 5 in the morning to feed my animals and I'm like, have ideas. And I just go to the computer for a couple hours. And then the next thing I know, it's like midday. So
yeah. Yeah. So that's how Christine is too. And my friend Becky Welsh. All right. Okay. So I'm going to stay after. We're at time, so feel free to hop off. I'm going to stay here for about 10 more minutes. If you have any questions, if you could, like either in the chat right now or email. Actually, I'm not the best at replying to emails because I get so busy. So I don't want to set you up for something I might not be able to respond to. But if you like post inside of the either the play therapy community group, or if you post in that EMDR with Kids group of something you would like to learn more about. Like Deb taught us about targets. I taught us about resourcing this time. Carmen taught us about emotional literacy. Marshall talked to us about like EMDR integrated with expressive arts and moving through the phases. Nancy said today was fantastic. Thank you. Can we get the monkey visual? Yes, Debbie. Deb said that she will share it. That's definitely, that came from her brain too. Like it's, if we could see inside there, we'd be like, oh my goodness, I want a ticket. Sorry, Deb, I'm just, it's like you are amazing. All right. Have you seen the most recent version of the body scan? Like you're my inspiration for it. I feel like I
No,
should
I'm dying to
trademark
see it.
for you. This is, I met with the people from the Polyvagal Institute and did the final touches. But there's a
Oh,
hybrid states.
oh, that's really cool.
Isn't it neat that evolved all the way into this? So, like, you can be in dorsal and in ventral, and that's still regulated. You can be in ventral and sympathetic, and that's still regulated. That's where play lives. And also,
Mhm.
play can live here. You think about like hide and seek. People are like they're like hiding. They're shut down, and they're also very kind of playful and connected. That's a hybrid state of play, and that's
Oh,
where we
that's
grow.
great.
That's where we
Amazing.
expand. That's why, like literally, I woke up in the middle of the night one night and I was like, resilience. That's what resilience means. That we're able to bounce back from hard stuff. And in play therapy, we're like putting them in this situation to where there's opportunities to fail. There's opportunities to not get what they want. There's opportunities to struggle, but they're still connected, and that's where they grow. And then you can be playing hide and seek, and it's therapeutic. So phase two, do you play hide and seek?
Do I play all the time? And my dog plays hide and seek. That's the best game. The kids hide and the dog finds them.
Can you share your screen with the dog? Oh, you can't share your screen right now. Your dog is beautiful. Like you can't share it. Maybe we'll get a picture of your dog and put in the group. The Interweaves is $3 in help in Etsy from Jocelyn Fitzgerald. Actually, I could share with you what it looks like because I bought it actually this weekend, but you can find it. I can't share with you the actual thing. I should ask her to come on here too. I love her. She's definitely the artsy type. When I say that, I have a love for artsy type people because they are just unlike any other. So I'm going to share with you her actual thing that I bought, but I can't give it to you because it's not mine to give. But cognitive interweaves packet use sparingly, trust the process. So it's this right here. So good. That's only $3.
Cool.
She's
Jackie,
so
I
generous.
found Jen's posts, so I'm going to
Ooh.
put that in the chat.
Okay. And then I know it's time, so if you have to hop off, I'm going to be here for about 10 minutes. If you want to unmute yourself, ask any questions. If you need anything, we don't want to in any way be working in isolation. We're a whole community of child therapists that is EMDR trained. We're definitely better together. What's that, I should play that Jack Johnson song. I play music a lot of times in my session. That Better Together song. Did you put that link in the chat?
Yeah, I just put it in the chat. She has these beautiful moon pictures. They're all nature based. It's really incredible.
Okay, so let's we'll share that. Oh man, I clicked on it like 2 times. You ever get click happy like that? Yeah. You're like, There we go. Ooh, that's beautiful. Okay. Oh wait, clicked away. There. Art for trauma therapy. Okay. Oh, the sud scale is like on the moons. All right. Hand model regulation. Wow, is this our whole shop? Ooh, there's some really good stuff. How did you find out about her?
Hello, Sean. What are you talking about?
Jen Marchand. Yeah, no, I had a friend who contacted her for group supervision and I hopped on board because she was amazing.
Okay, so somebody said it's Jim Marchand who you talk, so she's well known in the community. Oh, I don't know her name. Have to reach out to her. She taught the EMDR course I did with Child Trauma Institute, I think. Maybe I wonder if she'd be interested in coming on here and kind of sharing.
I think she's in Africa currently, so the time zone might be interesting, but we'll see. I can contact her and ask her.
Okay. Oh, that'd be great. Okay.
I have to hop off to go back to my training, so I get credit. Thank you,
Okay.
Jackie, for having me.
Thank you. Bye, Deb.
Right, bye.
See you later. Bye-bye. All right. If you don't have any questions or anything, Jennifer, you said it's been so energizing for my work. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you. It's been energizing spending this time with you. Jasmine says she told, oh yeah, you said there are help teachers. That's great. All of these great resources. All right, take care. I'll see you all later. Bye. Bye. Bye, Elizabeth. Bye. See you later. Bye, Cindy. Bye, Lulu. Bye, Erin. Jennifer and Becky's in here with me, kind of. There you're gone. Oh, Cindy, are you the person that I talked to about the yoga? Do you do yoga?
Me?
Yeah.
Cindy? Oh, I do yoga, but no, I'm not the one that you talked to.
Okay, so I did. For some reason, you have that yoga vibe, and I literally talked to somebody about yoga with kids and EMDR, and I cannot remember who it is. And then I see email come back, and I lost the email.
Oh no, I mean, I'm signed up for the Florida training, and I'm gonna be coming to the event tomorrow. I'm in Texas, so I'm not going to your presentation, but I hear there's a meet and greet after.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Yay. Okay. Oh, I can't wait to meet you in person then a couple times.
Yeah, well, welcome to Texas.
Yeah. Maybe we could do some yoga together. All right. I'll see you later. Take
Thank you
care.
so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.